aging grannies. We will hear more of them before we go marching. I want to welcome you. I'm Margaret Eichler. I'm the president of Scientists for the Right to Know. And at this very moment, we are one of 16 other rallies and events that are happening in Canada from coast to coast to coast. We are here to make a point that is going to not be able to be ignored. We are all here to stand up for science. So why are we here? Science is the lifeblood of our future. Oil gets depleted with use. Science creates knowledge. Knowledge increases with use. We are not just a renewable resource, we are a growing resource. And when that is cut up, when that flow is hindered, that is not good for the country. We need science to know ourselves. And when I say science, I mean natural scientists and social scientists and scientists in the humanities and librarians and archivists who are all part of this overall endeavor of science. The mandatory long census form was the way in which we knew ourselves. Its abolition means that we no longer are well informed about Aboriginal people, about people with disabilities, about recent immigrants, people who are poor, who have problems with the English language. How can we make good policies? How can we know ourselves when we don't know basic facts about who we are, who's coming, and who's doing what? We need scientists who are able to talk to the media and to the public, who are able to publish their data without any political interference, and who are able and free to disagree with the government when their data leads them to that conclusion, who are not afraid to express their opinions and who are not afraid to lose their jobs because they say them. We need scientists who are able to advise the government when it needs to hear difficult truth. So how will we achieve this? We are going to make this an election issue, and these sets of rallies across the countries are part of moving towards that direction, that we come back to restoring the lifeblood of our culture, where our prosperity lies in the future, that we have a free flow of information, that science is supported at all levels of government, and that scientists are free to communicate their messages and to do their work. Thank you. And now I want to introduce Brad Evoy. He's the internal commissioner of the Graduate Students Union, who is the co-organizer of this event.
Thank you, Margaret, and hello, folks. As mentioned, my name is Brad Evoy. I am the Internal Commissioner for the University of Toronto Graduate Students Union, an organization which represents over 15,000 graduate students at the University of Toronto. Our members are deeply concerned about the various changes in policy and in ideology which have driven what we are here for today in terms of the restriction and muzzling of science and scientists. Our members are concerned about the undercutting of basic research funding from the Tri-Council funding bodies and through changes in the National Research Council which restrict and reduce the support of basic science within our overall society. We are deeply concerned about the loss of key and important data ranging from the already mentioned long-form census to the Sisters in Spirit database, which contained information about missing and murdered women, Aboriginal women, throughout this country. We are deeply concerned as an organization about the criminalization of dissent, but also we are concerned very specifically about the restriction of dissenting opinion through evidence-based research and the application of that research through policy. We, as an organization, and students across the country clearly, are concerned about the undervaluing of basic research as it destroys the wider economic future of our members, graduate students, and prevents the potential work of our members from benefiting wider society. what I can say to you now is that today is the day that we should stand up for science, but today is not the only day we should do so. We should continue forward with this message throughout this year and all time, up until the point where we can say that our country is back on track and supporting evidence-based policy and science. Thank you all very much for coming.
Our next speaker is Professor Scott Prudham. He's a professor of geography at the University of Toronto, and he's the president of the University of Toronto Faculty Association, which is the co-organizer of this event.
Hello everyone, nice to see you out. I want to express my thanks to the other organizers, particularly Evidence for Democracy and Scientists for the Right to Know, and Margaret and their tireless work to make this happen. It's my pleasure to be here today representing 3,000 faculty and librarians at the University of Toronto. The University of Toronto Faculty Association is committed to supporting science and academic freedom as matters of both professional but also public interest. And I want to talk today I want to talk a little bit about what we mean when we say that we live in a civilized society, as I think most of us would say. Specifically, I want to argue that the federal government's policies and practices when it comes to science are actually a threat to core aspects of what a civilized society means. Now that sounds a bit dramatic, but is it justified? I think it is. Civilization is a big, complex, and contested word. It's constantly debated in universities and elsewhere the world over. What are the defining features of a civilization? What do we mean when we talk about the history and hallmarks of civilization and civilized societies? There are many possible answers. Some say writing, others would say urbanization or systematic crop and animal breeding. Perhaps others would say the rule of law, the emergence of formal political institutions, social stratification, and on and on. Some have debated even whether or not civilization as a process is always positive. These are important questions and debates, and I can't, of course, begin to add to them now, but I do think these kinds of debates and the issues that